Thanks for joining us, and today we're going to talk about what is Daoist internal alchemy. So Daoist internal alchemy is a flexible, adaptive system for communicating with the life force. So what does that mean? Daoist internal alchemy, we talk about the life force in terms of qi, and qi means the subtle breath of nature. The universe is breathing this sort of subtle life force. It's breathing things into creation, and things are dissolving from creation and going back to their origin. This subtle breath is coming in and coming out of the world. And when we talk about qi in Chinese medicine, for instance, we talk about qi as this sort of subtle life force that flows through the meridians in the body, if you will. It helps to nourish the functions of the body. It brings the subtle into the physical, and then flows things back again into the subtle again. So when we talk about this sort of primordial origin, if you will, it is this life force, this breath of life that it breathes this life into the universe, and it's constantly flowing in and flowing out. And so when we talk about Daoist internal alchemy, we're talking about a way of consciously having this a communication with the life force. Now, the life force is flowing through us all, and certainly when we are born into this world, we're open to things, right? We are our energetic architecture, if you will, is very open. And so in Daoist internal alchemy, we talk about the primordial portal. The portal of this life force that flows into us is what we call the Ming Men. It's the gate of life. It's basically this primordial portal between the two kidneys, this interdimensional portal in which the life force comes in and starts to take form into what we call yin and yang, the sort of positive and the negative aspect of the life force. And really, it's not two life forces, it's one. It's a polar opposite, much like a magnet. And then sometimes there is, the yang is more active and the yin is more passive. And you need both of those to be able to create sort of like a current of life force, if you will, right? So they're constantly turning into each other, changing into each other. The yin becomes the yang, and then the yang becomes the yin. And if you look at the Tai Chi symbol, you have the white sort of teardrop shape on one side and the black teardrop shape on the other. And then you have, within the black teardrop shape, you have a white, small white seed, if you will. And in the white teardrop shape, which is the yin, you have the seed of the yang. And so the yin will eventually change its polarity to become the yang. So it shows you that the life force is dynamic. It is moving from pole to pole, from yin to yang and from yang to yin. And so that is very much about the flow of this life energy within us. It goes in this shape of polarity. It's moving, right? And when we talk about an internal architecture, we talk about the microcosmic orbit, the one of the main energy meridians that runs basically up the spine from the perineum up to the crown and then down to the top of the roof of the mouth, and then runs down the front of the body all the way down the center line to the perineum again. So that perpetual loop, if you will, the chi is flowing through that as part of the life force's expression within our bodies, right? And our meridians then are connected in with our internal organs and all the different systems within our body. And so in Chinese medicine, they will try to use different techniques to manipulate the life force flow in the meridians to encourage a better flow if there's a deficiency or if there's an excess, and to make a balance so that your energies are balanced, and then your body and everything else in you has what you need to be even keel in your optimum health, right? So it's a very balanced kind of holistic approach. So in Daoist internal alchemy, it precedes Chinese medicine by thousands of years. So the early internal alchemists knew about the life force, right? They understood that the way that it worked, and they recognized that it had a yin and yang expression. They also recognized that it is in the body and it comes in from the source basically into the body. What they discovered is that they could communicate with it and encourage the flow. So if people are, if the flow wasn't so great and people were exhibiting either some issues with their emotion stuff, or if they were having health issues, they could do particular kinds of movements, techniques, breathing, etc., which help to encourage the flow of the life force, right? And so that's what we see today with people doing like Qigong, right? Simple motions where they're encouraging the flow of the life force by doing some kind of harmonious movement, plus breath, plus visualization. It encourages the life force to move through, right? To balance out what is imbalanced within the body. And so a lot of Qigong is focuses on what they call medical Qigong, which is for health, right? Preventative exercise for health. So people will often do like Tai Chi, or they might do Ba Jua Jin, is the, a very famous set of 8 exercises, the 8 pieces of brocade, right? But there's lots and lots of Qigong forms that people do for health all over the world, not just in China. So we know that there have been many studies done that that Qigong is very effective for helping, prevention of the onset of aging and disease, etc., etc. And especially if people have ailments and they're taking other kind of medical treatments, and Qigong really can accelerate their healing. So, and the reason is because it's encouraging the life force to flow through them, and the life force is what heals the body, right? So Daoist internal alchemy, as I said, they learn to communicate with the life force, and that's what we're doing, is we're communicating with the life force. And so at first people are like, well, what, how do I feel the life force, right? Like, what is that all about, right? So one of the very simple things we do at Modern Korea, one of the first things that we teach is ocean breathing, right? And that's a very simple way of doing belly breathing. And what it is you're tuning into the Ming Men, which is between the 2 kidneys. But you can just begin by feeling the belly as you're breathing, right? And when you're doing ocean breathing, you're shifting your weight from your heels, you're standing up and you're shifting your weight from your heels to the balls of your feet. You're opening up your hands, right? You're allowing your sense of openness to expand, opening up your inner space, and you're connecting in to that Ming Men, to that primordial portal, and you're connecting in with that qi, right? What they call the yuan qi, the original qi that is flowing into your body all the time. You're opening up that gate even more and allowing things to flow through you, right? And so consequently, what people experience is they experience this feeling where they get these sort of expansions or openness within them. They may have been feeling like there's sort of, something was kind of condensed in their abdominal area, right? Because they have been subconsciously repressing that the life force from flowing through there, right? By repressed emotions and et cetera, et cetera. So they're opening that up. And when they start to do ocean breathing, they start to feel, whoa, I'm opening up. It's almost like you can take your full breath for the first time, right? But it's not just the breath, because it's the subtle breath of nature. The qi is flowing along with you actually breathing with that ocean breathing, right? And you start to feel things opening up. Tightnesses start to dissolve, if you will, right? And if you add the inner smile into that while you're doing the ocean breathing, what starts to happen is some of that qi, that primordial qi, starts to come and interact with all those patterns that you have that have limited your own development, these what we call qi limiting patterns, right? They've shaped the way the qi is and made it like only move in certain ways, right? So you're smiling into that, you're breathing into it, and things start to open up, and old patterns that you have will start to dissolve, right? And so this is just a very, very simple way for you to communicate with the life force. You're connecting into feeling inside of you, this interoception. You're feeling that kind of whatever that emotional thing is that you're holding on to, or whatever it is, right? You can feel this tightness, right? Whatever it is, and you're breathing into it with ocean breathing. You're allowing the flow to come through. You're smiling into it. You're giving your consent for it to change, and things start to dissolve. These limitations start to dissolve, and you start to feel this openness inside. Things are flowing through you. The life force is flowing through you because you have basically said yes to life. I want more flow. I want to open up, right? And so that's basically, in a nutshell, what you're doing with Daoist internal alchemy. So with Daoist internal alchemy, there's many more advanced techniques than that, where you're starting to use kind of, sort of more dynamic processes to open up things even more, right? Not just at the emotional level, but at sort of more foundational and deeper levels. But that's the basic premise behind it, is that you are opening up your inner space, and then you're accepting what is there and allowing it to transform. And when things start to transform, you feel, it's not even you feel lighter, it's just that things change and you're like, whoa, what was that thing I've been holding on to for years and years, it's gone, right? Because you basically allowed it to transform, right? Whereas before you had basically been repressing it, and you weren't encouraging the life force to flow through you to make changes to it. And so consequently, now when you're opening things up, you're opening up your inner space, you're connecting in with the life force, you're communicating with it, right? You're using techniques like breathing, you're doing some movement techniques, you're doing visualization techniques. All of that is a way that you're communicating with the life force and saying, yes, let's move through, let's dissolve old patterns, let's open up, let's be new and dynamic, let's look at new adventures, right? All of that is like you're getting back in the driver's seat of your life, and your co-pilot is the life force, basically, right? And you're on the same journey really together, and it is expressing in a way through you with your consent these new incredible, exciting dynamic situations that will start to evolve within you, right? And then the old stuff just sort of kind of dissolves and dissipates, and then you're no longer trapped in those old patterns. So that's really, in a nutshell, what Daoist internal alchemy is all about. It's really about transformation and communication with the life force, and being in a collaborative relationship with it, right? And encouraging that change. And it's wonderful, because you don't need an intermediary to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, or to figure you out, right? And to well, you need to work on this and you need to work on that. Well, nobody really has the wisdom, at least that I've seen, to do that. But you have the wisdom inside to do that, because all you need to do is just be open, right? So, you can even just start with the ocean breathing, right? Where you just be open, and whatever you start to feel, just be curious. Like, oh, what is that I feel there, right? And as you do the ocean breathing, you're breathing into it and allowing the chi to flow through it, and you're feeling whatever that feeling is, and allowing it. You might get a sense of what it is, or maybe not. You just feel it dissipating, right? That's okay. Or you may have a very, very poignant memory in there and go, whoa, this is really emotionally charged, right? And so it might take you a little while for it for things to move through it, but it will happen. You just need to be persistent with it. But it is really revolutionary, because you are just able to let go of a whole bunch of your baggage, right? And how do you do that? It just begins with your collaboration with the life force. You're communicating with the life force, and that's what Daoist internal alchemy is all about. It's not a very complicated procedure. Like, people have taken Taoism and turned it into a religion, but originally it wasn't a religion. In a way, it's more like an earth-based spirituality, really, is what it is. And so people who have different traditions that have more of an earth-based spirituality, it's so close to Taoism. It's just they're using maybe different techniques, but the fundamentals are they are making a communication and then opening themselves up to change, right? Like, that's really the essence of it, right? So whether you call it Taoism or whether you call it, an earth-based spirituality, it doesn't really matter, because ultimately it's about your collaboration with the life force, your relationship on a one-to-one basis. And there's no intermediary between that, because you are part of life, and life is flowing through you, right? So you don't need somebody to spiritually empower you for this. All you need to do is discover it in yourself. So I'd urge you to do that. At Modern Korea, we've got tons and tons of stuff that you can play with, right? It's basically to open up that inner space, that process, get into that alchemical process. And one of the easiest ways to do it is the ocean breathing. It's so simple, and you just need to experiment with it, right? And then, there are other techniques in there, like fusion of the 5 elements, which is available in our membership account, and other higher techniques, etc. But the basics are all on our website. And ocean breathing is really like such a simple way for you to learn how to do that. So just do it. Take my word for it, or don't take my word for it. Just try it out, right? And you'll find it's like, oh, I feel calmer. Well, that's great. Do it more and open up yourself more. You can totally transform yourself from the inside out, right? And it's totally worth it. So you might have, even health issues and stuff like that, and you will find that it actually helps to encourage the life force flow through you, and you'll find consequently everything in you and in your life is going to get better. It's going to change for the better, because you are collaborating with the life force. You're collaborating with life. You're saying yes to life. So please say yes to life, okay? So if you have any questions about this, feel free to send me an email at info@moderncrea.com. Also check our website at moderncrea.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.